It's a pleasure to be here and appreciate everybody joining us today. We're going to start with just a quick round of introductions of the Mather staff that are on the call. So I'm Matt Lindsay, the president of Mather Economics, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the firm after we go through the quick round here. So Matthew?
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Matt Lule. I'm a managing director at Mather. Been with Matt for about 9 years now, and along with Dustin and a couple others, we help manage the operations of the firm.
Hello everyone, and I'm Dustin Tetley, Matt and Matthew's counterparts on running our analytics services. So happy to be here and look forward to talking to everyone.
We also have Bob Terzotis on the call. So Bob.
Hi, I'm Bob Terzotis. I'm Executive Vice President of Business Development. I also have a number of friends who are small in HVAC, so I'm excited to be able to help share some of this information with you, and looking forward to working with some of you in the future.
Awesome, great, thank you so much. So we're going to divide and conquer this presentation today, so just please feel free to chime in with any questions you may have as we go. We'd like to keep it pretty conversational, and then there'll be plenty of time for questions at the end as well. And as Sandy mentioned, we're happy to share this presentation with you and answer any questions via email later on if they come to you once you have the document. So just the thing, this is roughly what we'd like to cover today. We're going to tell you a little bit more about ourselves. We're going to kind of discuss some of the challenges that we've been speaking with contractors and they've shared with us. We're going to talk a little bit about maybe how we can help address some of those challenges with the data that you have on your operations, and then talk to a little bit more specifically about how we would go about helping contractors. We have a project approach and a way that we would like to tackle certain things. So lastly, we would like to talk a little bit about what we're hoping to accomplish with a pilot project, and so more to come on that too. So Mather Economics, I started the company about 18 years ago. I have worked in industry and in big consulting prior to starting this company. We are a little bit different than most firms that you may have worked with or heard about. We tend to be an analytics provider as a service, and so we're on retainer with a lot of our clients, and I'll give some examples of that in a little bit, but we really are an extension of your team. We tend to not be a firm that comes in and does a bunch of work and leaves. We like to help our company, the clients, kind of implement the insights that we discover and give them some, just kind of augment their capabilities. The clients that we partner with have collectively over $6 billion in revenue that we're helping them manage through our ongoing services. We have over 200 clients in a variety of different industries, and as I mentioned before, we've been around for a while and have lots of real world experience. So as I touched on a little bit about this, but kind of some of the differences about us versus some other firms is we kind of augment your internal team, or we work with big companies and small companies, and we can provide different levels of service based on what your needs are. We also help with the implementation, so we do a lot of A/B testing. So we'll make some predictive, some predictions based on the historical data that we can analyze, and then we can verify that those actually are accurate predictions. And in today's world of data security, we're very compliant with all of the latest data privacy and so on. And we don't do anything with the data that we receive from clients other than what they've asked us to do with it. So this is just a sampling of some of our clients, and please don't be concerned if these are all Titanic companies and yours is not so big. We work with a lot of smaller clients as well. These are just the ones that people recognize. So by all means, these are the big brands, but we have lots of small ones too. And I meant to mention in there, we have a number of clients in Canada too. So we're based in Atlanta in the United States, but we have lots of clients in Canada. In fact, Dustin is Canadian, so I always like to throw that out there. In terms of the different industries we work in, we have a number here. You can see we have media clients. People, we've worked with companies in telecom and the lottery industry. The Atlantic Lottery is one of our clients in Canada. We work with sports teams like the NBA and USTA. HVAC is a growing one for us, and that's really why we're here today. We work with a lot of digital products, so digital streaming products, just digital media, the automotive industry, the wine industry, and higher ed is another growing one for us. So what the common thread amongst these industries is that a lot of them have opportunities to increase their revenue through strategic pricing, and a lot of them also have recurring client relationships. So managing that client relationship through data and analytics is a huge opportunity for a lot of these industries, and we are a partner in that process. We get a lot of questions about data and quality data, and what we found is that in the real world, no industry has good data. It's a common theme, and don't feel like if you don't have an already a data environment set up that this doesn't work for you. We actually have approaches we can help people that don't have any data, and where there's imperfect data, we're used to that as well. So another thing I'd like to just throw out there is that this analysis may sound very complex and very sophisticated. However, we like to keep it real. We don't use jargon typically. We are also affordable. We tend to we focus on long-term relationships with our clients as well. So we're not looking for a quick big project right out of the gate. We like to have very manageable projects that have kind of some quick wins that typically pay for themselves very quickly. And also we're looking for long-term relationships with clients. We don't have to do that, but that's our preference. We like to get to know the companies and the data and the people. And we actually were looking back, and our first 10 clients that we had on a retainer are all still with us, and that's probably been over 10 years for those guys. So very proud of the fact that people still work with us. Our clients, we don't have long-term contracts, so they can stop anytime. So the fact they're still with us after that length of period is hopefully a good sign. So the last slide that I'm going to talk through, and then I'll hand it over to Matthew, is just the purpose of today's project. We were going to put this early in the deck, just so that you can mull this over as you kind of hear what we're about to go through today. But what we're really looking for, and the way that we often work with relatively new industries, is we like to have pilots where we actually get in, put some skin in the game and work with a couple of clients that are willing to kind of share data with us and work with us to develop kind of the success stories that we're looking for. So we're hoping to find a couple of you that may be interested in a pilot. Typically we do a tremendous amount of work for a minimal amount of revenue, and we really only ask in some ways just a demonstration of that you're committed by asking for a nominal fee. So that's essentially what we've included in here. The idea is that we would work with you to develop a toolkit that would help you increase your profitability. In most cases, that's going to have to do with increasing your pricing sophistication or your understanding of profitability, perhaps by customer or by product, so that once we have those insights, we can then help you act accordingly and increase profitability through some targeted revenue strategies. So actually, I said Matthew, but I meant Dustin. So I'll turn it over to Dustin here, and he'll go through the next couple of slides.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, so one of the first things we like to do with any pilot project or even a industry that we've had a lot of work with already is we'd like to get to know your specific challenges and what you're looking to address with that project, or just in general, what challenges you're facing. And these are some of the things that we've heard are challenges some of you may be facing or may resonate. Shrinking profit margins without a strong understanding of how to maintain or grow them. Needing better accuracy to improve the bid process or improve profits. The need for improved forecasting for materials or labor, equipment, overhead, warranty costs. And then also profit margins can vary significantly by job type, client, seasonality, which can really have a big impact on your short and long-term success. And then just sometimes it's just an overall understanding of the risks and opportunities today and for the next 1 to 3 years are some of the things we commonly hear and we can propose some solutions for. And as Matt alluded to earlier, I think one of the common things we may hear is that, you know, I don't have great data, or I don't have enough data to embark on a project like this. And we work with clients of all sizes, and even Titanic companies sometimes have very poor or very little data, and sometimes very small companies have very good data, and vice versa. So we do our best just to make the best decisions we can and add value wherever we can, no matter what data there is. And most of the time what we find is there's actually a lot more data available for us to help with than teams initially think. So you know, there can be data on materials, labor, equipment, overhead, and all of this data, sometimes it's not already documented, but you do have that information sitting in different parts of your business. So as small business owners, you know, monthly decisions can have a big impact on margins and profitability, and making smart decisions with the data you have can really move the needle for you on profitability if you know the right way to, right place to look and what levers to pull to make changes. So we'd like to help across all of these areas we discussed, or if you have other challenges you're facing, we'd be happy to discuss that as well. These were just some of the ideas that we've come across that have been helpful to others. A lot of times it's reviewing historical data to see where profit opportunities exist, and finding that small segment of your customer base or your products that may be ripe for a price increase without changing any of the other products. So reviewing historical data is normally our starting point, and something we're very experienced with and can help you navigate to decide a best path forward. Along with that process, we can prepare summary statistics just on what we find through reviewing your data or any information you're able to provide us, and what opportunity areas exist both on the expense side or the revenue side. Some other things we do is things like segmentation, where we can look at products or clients and services and determine where revenue opportunities exist and where you should be spending more of your time. And then other things we can work on are forecasting tools for current year profit or a multi-year outlook based on past trends. And usually we provide inputs where you can add levers and see how things change depending on different assumptions. And then something else was just a job costing tool for use as a bid sheet to either assign or validate client estimates. I think
yeah, so just
take over here. Yep.
Thanks, Dustin. So just building off what Dustin was talking about, one of the things we're really good at and we've been doing for a long, long time is building models to measure price sensitivity. And so this example here, the next 2 slides, really takes a look at one of the case studies we have for a distributor, an HVAC distributor in Canada. And really the goal of that project was to measure price sensitivity by a couple of different layers or cohorts of their data. And so really what we try to do here is we'll request a period of time of transaction data. So purchases made by customers and the details of those purchases. So what was the product? What was the product type? What was the price paid? You know, what's the history of that customer with the firm or the company? And what we'll do is we'll layer on some econometric models on top of that transaction data, really to measure the sensitivity to price, you know, for either the product or the customer. This type of analysis has a lot of value for a few reasons. The biggest one is it gives you some intelligence and data to support some of those gut feelings that a lot of leaders have in terms of their products. And so a lot of times what we hear is that, you know, leaders at firms or companies may have a sense that certain products are overpriced or underpriced, just given the response that they're seeing from their customers and sort of an ad hoc or gut feel level. And what we're able to do with this type of analysis is lend some credence or data-backed validity to those assumptions. And really, going back to Dustin's point, what you can do with this really for the rubber to meet the road is you can build some scenarios around, if I were to change the prices of some of these products, what does it mean to both my top and bottom line? And so you can build out some fairly sophisticated scenario planning tools to measure what we think is going to happen to revenue and profit as a product of changing price points. This example here is just on product lines. On the x-axis of this graph, you can actually see the measured price sensitivity or the estimated price sensitivity by these product lines. And in this case, what's actually happening here is some of these product lines towards the top are as much as 1/10 as price sensitive as those product lines that are at the very bottom. So in this case, commercial valves for this distributor was a product that was very sensitive to price. And they were able to make some decisions based off this data in terms of pricing decisions. I'll turn it back over to Matt to talk about profitability.
Great. Yep. Thanks, Matt. So one of the things that often surprises the companies we work with is just the power they have for pricing. A lot of people's first instinct is that they have to compete on price. And what we've found, which is a pleasant surprise to most companies, is that that's not often the case, that there are certain circumstances where certain customers will want to negotiate heavily on pricing. However, there are tactics to mitigate some of that. In particular, just knowing who those customers are is the first part. The second is to understand what are the value drivers for that customer, and how do you perhaps leverage that value to derive incremental revenue. So some customers, perhaps want a different level of service or speed. Some just want higher quality parts. Some people want advice and consultation. And so there's a lot of different ways that you can bundle or unbundle services and products to meet the particular customer that their particular value proposition. So that would be the primary point I'd like to make, is that often competing on price is not a winning strategy. And this chart on the left demonstrates, and this data here is really what we call a break-even curve. So what we're demonstrating is that if your current operating margin is 35% today, and you lower your price, you can see that the incremental volume required to maintain your current level of operating margin can rapidly escalate. So if you were to drop your price 20% in this chart, you can see that your volume would have to grow by over 100% to keep that same level of profit. So as you drop your price, you can see that bars that are moving further and further over to the right, it really is almost an impossible job to outgrow a price cut. So as you raise your price, however, what we find is that you can usually raise your prices strategically. So we don't recommend across the board price increases, but we do find that there are ways to implement pricing increases that mitigate a lot of the volume risk that you may expect. And in many cases, we can cut that volume loss from a price increase by a considerable amount, at least up to half, sometimes more than that. And that's the opportunity that we typically find for clients. So this is, again, just a break-even matrix that you can see here. So if your current operating margin is more or less than 35%, you can see on this chart what the corresponding volume level is that keeps that break-even level of profit. So just a real quick project approach. This is how we would typically work with a particular company. We normally start with what we call the end in mind. So we try to find the end state goal or the use case that you're most interested in solving. We then will identify the types of data that we would like to use for that use case. We then identify where that data is in the company, and we prepare the data set. We can pull data from multiple systems, merge it together as needed. We then complete a predictive model. So in the case of, to use a use case of pricing, for instance, we might want to get data from on the customer, on the jobs, on, a number of different sources, pull that together, measure price elasticity, make a prediction as to how the customers would react to different types of pricing. We then build a business case around that. So we'll do a lot of forecasting around scenarios. What if we did X? What if we did Y? And we can figure out financially what's the strategy that derives the most profit. And then the last step is implementation support. So we can validate a lot of our predictions through A/B testing, where you have a target group and a control group, and we just track the performance over time, and we can tweak it as we go. So that's really about the end of our prepared remarks. I know we've gone for about 30 minutes or more, so we wanted to really spend most of this time with Q&A. And so we certainly welcome any thoughts you may have, and happy to discuss in more detail any questions you may have. So I guess, Sandy, I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Matt. So yes, use the Q&A or the chat feature that's located on the bottom of your screen if you have any topics, and I'll just kind of pick them up as they come in. I would like to just start, Matt, by going back to slide 15 for a second, because I do think there is a common belief in many industries that the customer sets the price, and my business or my industry is too price sensitive to adjust my pricing. Can you talk a little bit about some of the characteristics of customers that you've found that make them either price sensitive or very elastic from a pricing perspective?
Sure. So some customers are either new, so they're they're in some ways they're wanting to mitigate their risk of a new service provider by negotiating on price. So there's kind of risk mitigation. Once, a lot of times we find customers that you've interacted with over time, and they're comfortable with your service, and they value your advice, that they're willing to pay more. Not to say that you should take advantage of your best customers, but it's more about your level. You're providing a valuable service, and so they're willing to pay for that. So they also want you to remain in business, and so they're often wanting to support your business and help you provide, give you the revenue you need to provide a quality offering to them. The other are customers that just have their own financial challenges. So when we look at consumer businesses, we see customers that have perhaps less household disposable income, and so there are economic constraints. But we like to separate. In some cases, there's kind of income elasticity and there's price elasticity. Both of them are important to understand, but those are two characteristics that we often find.
Okay, another question around a lot of the people you've got on the phone today are owner operators, very engaged in their business. How much time do you find on normal that senior people in organizations are taken away from the day-to-day operation to deal with the types of analytics that you're looking at?
Well, that's a great question. So one of the value propositions we provide is that we bring all of the resources that are needed to implement a complex solution. We really try to make it easy. So in some cases, we're a turnkey type of operation. The real time that we like to spend with the owner operators is understanding their vision and their strategy and what they're hoping to accomplish. So I'd say more time on the front end. Once we do some analysis, we also like to sanity check that with their own understanding. They will know their customers and their market better than we ever will. So it's a combination of art and science. When you do these types of projects, we'll bring some data to bear. This slide is a good example here. So we can say, listen, if you raise your price by 10%, you will do better as long as you don't lose more than 22% of your business. And so we can kind of just give you, see, what does your gut tell you would be the response to a 10% change. We can tell you what the model predicts, but we also love to get their perspective as well.
Okay, perfect. Going back to your pilot project approach, and that was on one of your early slides, 4 or 5, I believe. Here we go. Just want to make sure everyone is clear that the only cost you're looking at from a participating partner in this is the $500 per month over a 4 to 6 month project period. Is that correct?
Yep, that is correct. Yeah, we really are just trying to really get a couple of good wins that we can talk, and then the other is perhaps your willingness to allow us to share the story. We won't share any private data, of course, but we do want to be able to talk about the what we've learned with other contractors.
And in the case of the promotion of the case study, I would assume that the name of the company is not even necessarily required. So it would be a contractor based in central Canada had the following learnings from this initiative. Is that a fair statement?
It is. That's right. Yeah, we can do it that way. What we often find is if they're willing to, to speak at an event like this, we ideally would have another HRAI, either conference or something where people believe it if it comes from the words of one of their peers more than if it comes from us. So we would hope that at some point there would be an opportunity for them to speak if they're comfortable doing that.
Okay, floor is still open for questions. If anyone would like to post a question on chat or Q&A, I'm monitoring that closely. The kind of discussion around a pilot project as well. Are you folks kind of ready to go sooner than later, or would this be something that you would expect to kick off somewhere in the future?
We are really can start anytime at the discretion of the willing participants. So happy to, there's no urgency, so we don't have, we're really ready to go whenever it works well for them.
Okay, and one other question that I have here is on the ROI. So you talked about a 10-to-1 kind of model. Is that an average? Is that a best practice? How does that kind of generally play out for most of your customers?
That's actually kind of our I would say at least our average, if not our floor in some ways. We really try to go. We work hard to make that a reality. So I mean, our fees per month, our retainer fees are intended to be sustainable. And what we find is that we can normally increase revenue by, again, because we're all friends, I'll throw this benchmark out there, but we normally through pricing can increase revenue 5 or 10%. So, and all that money really just falls to the bottom line, because generally there's really no incremental cost associated with that. It's really just the benefit of having some intelligence behind your pricing model. And we realize people are very busy running their business and they don't often have the time to do what we're proposing here. So it's generally, incremental profit.
Okay, great. All right, that looks to be the Q&A period. So I'd like to thank the Mather team for this session. I hope everyone has found this information useful. As I mentioned earlier, we will be taping the session, and there also will be a feature in our newsletter probably next week, which will also have the link back to this video. I would also ask everyone to complete the evaluation survey that will appear on your screen at the end of the webinar. And I hope everyone has a great afternoon. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you, Sandy. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.